Hey guys, I'm Jody.
And I'm Justin.
Today we have a paid preview that we're going to go over, and this is a new major expansion for OSTIA. So, OSTIA being the base game that's already out, this is OSTIA, the expansion Pirates. Pirates! Arr!
R.
So, this is going to be coming to Kickstarter very soon. February 27th is the launch date for this here Kickstarter.
Yeah, so let's tell you a little bit about it. This is by the publisher Uchiba Koya and the designer Tatsuka Chuo.
Hopefully we got that
I
right.
hope that I pronounced all of that correctly. And as you guys might be aware, this is a prototype, and therefore anything that we kind of show you guys here is subject to change.
So this game has several different things going for it. It has Moncala resource system, which is kind of the driving force of this game. And then it also has some tracks going on, and you're upgrading your city. And now we have some new stuff, content for this base game, Ostia. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a brief look at the expansion, talk about it a bit, and then for those of you who have never played Ostia, we're also going to do a brief look at Ostia, the base game, and some thoughts about that. So let's take a look at pirates first. Here we go. In Ostia Pirates, there are vicious pirates once you leave the safe haven near Rome. You must arm your fleet with weapons and legionaries. If you can secure a trade route, you will have a significant benefit worth the risk. So the Ostia Pirates expansion introduced many new things. So now you start the game with a home city tile and a supporter tile. And one of those will be potentially victory points at the end of the game if you meet the objectives. And the other one is like potentially a new ability throughout the game. And there's many different tiles that you can choose from. You'll be choosing a pair at the beginning of the game. And with the ones that you choose, you will be getting disgrace cubes. And those are not good. So if you have disgrace cubes at the end of the game, they will be -7 points per cube. Now there will be ways to get rid of those throughout the game, which you want to obviously try to do. You can pay gold to redeem the disgrace cubes, and there's other ways throughout the game.
So another thing that was added was the weapons. Now the weapons are something that when you go to the trade actions space on your personal board, you can trade in gold to get these weapons. Now these weapons are going to allow you to do a few things throughout the course of the game. One of which is repelling pirate ships. So as you're going through these trade routes, you're going to encounter these pirate ships, and you need the weapons in order to defeat them and to go to those spaces. And you're also going to need these weapons in order to build legionaries.
Now, speaking of pirate ships, one of the big things you have to do in this game now with this expansion is repel the pirate ships. So as you are moving your ships along the path, you're going to encounter these pirate ships. There are the first level, which is going to be the black pirate ships, and the second level will be the red pirate ships. And as he mentioned, you're going to have to pay weapons in order to repel them. And whenever you do that, you're going to look at the event board and see the cost. It's going to change throughout the game depending on if it's the black or the red pirate ship. So you have to pay the cost, and then you will also get to take treasure chests. And if you do black ships, then you get 1 treasure chest. If you do the red ones, then you get 2 treasure chests. If you take the last treasure chest of a certain section on the event board, that's going to trigger one of the event tiles at the end of your turn. And that's going to deal with someone potentially getting disgrace cubes and some redeeming disgrace cubes. And it's going to be like whoever has the most of something. And after resolving that event tile, then everyone also gets to collect gold according to how much or how many treasure chests they have.
Now we mentioned those legionaries earlier. Now these legionaries are going to be potentially really important because in order to get these legionaries, you're going to pay the cost on the barracks board. Now that's going to be paying a combination of weapons and potentially some other resources in order to get each legionary. Now the good thing about those legionaries is that once you have one, they're going to count as a weapon that you can fight against the pirate ships out along the trade routes.
Yeah, it's super nice.
They stay there, and
yeah.
you don't lose them whenever you use them.
They're super nice to have.
So if you can build up a good number of them, you can just be fighting these guys off left and right.
And they're also really important for victory points at the end of the game. You'll find the rightmost victory points from the legionaries, and you'll multiply that times how many treasure chests you have. So not only do they count as weapons throughout the game, can give you a lot of points at the end of the game.
For sure.
This expansion also introduced the Roman city board, and this is a cool little thing where you can now place your buildings that you get after putting out construction discs. Instead of on your own personal board, you can put it on this Roman city board. There is a cost for it, but then you can get one of those Roman city tiles, and they might be different each game, and they have different abilities. It might give you an instant benefit or in-game scoring possibilities. So it's a cool new thing that they have added.
Yeah, another interesting thing that they added was a new in-game condition, which, as we talked about earlier, there's all of these treasure chests. Once all of the treasure chests are depleted, that is a new in-game condition as well. So last treasure chest goes away, that triggers the end of the game.
So there's also some more ways to score points with this expansion. We've already mentioned the treasure test. You multiply that by the highest victory point of the legionaries. You might have those supporter tiles that give you points at the end of the game. You started the game with it, so you can kind of see what your objective might be. Then also potentially those Roman city tiles that where you claim with your buildings, that might provide in-game scoring. And lastly, you might lose some points if you have disgrace cubes. So if you are a fan of Ostia, this expansion will provide a lot more Ostia-ness.
Definitely. The amount of content that it adds, and I guess the complexity of the amount of things that you're managing, it certainly is a Ostia plus. And I think that's going to be good for those people that really like Ostia, the base game.
Right, yeah. And if you haven't played Ostia and this looks like something you're interested in, this expansion might be for you as well. Now, like he said, it does add some complexity in regards to having to manage more things. There's more ways to score points. You have some additional boards you have to manage and such. I've also gotten, several expansions over the years for different games, and I feel like this one provides a lot of content, even compared to some other expansions I've got. I mean, it introduces, like I said, the pirate ships, the legionaries, the Roman city board, the event board with the treasure chest, different ways to score points.
Yeah.
Like there is a lot of content in this expansion.
Yeah, so many different new things that have been added that are just more of Ostia, which we think is exactly what an expansion should do.
Yeah, and with all that though, it might add some time. So if you're okay with it being a little bit longer, because each person has more things to manage and more things to think through, so it will add some time. So if that's something that's okay with you, then this expansion might be for you as well. But if you don't want to add more time, potentially, then maybe it's not. So that is kind of a brief look, a preview on what the expansion Pirates might look like. Now let's take a look at the base game and see what that's like. In Ostia, you take on the role of the owner of a huge fleet of ships, where many merchants and nobles flock into the port of Ostia to charter your ships. Use the money and resources you have gained from chartering your ships to expand your enterprise and meet the demand for wheat and other commodities to win the hearts of the people.
So the first thing we're going to look at, and one of the interesting things about the scoring system, is we're going to take a look at this little track over here where you're moving your tile up the board to give you multipliers for the different things that you're doing throughout the game. So you're actually you're building your buildings, you're building ships, and you're getting amphora tokens, but where your little token is along that track is going to determine how much each of those things are actually worth in regards to your victory points at the end of the game.
So on each player's turn, you're going to do three things. So you're going to do a selection phase where you're basically choosing one of your sea areas where you have a ship. And then you're going to do the production phase. And that area that you have selected, you're going to count how many ships are in that area, keeping in mind that the Pontus ships are times 2. And then you're going to produce that many resources. So you're going to grab the resources from the tray, and you have singles and threes. And so however many ships you have, that's how many resources that you put in that area. And then you move on to the action phase, and that is triggered by that Mancala mechanism. So in that area you selected, you're going to grab all of those ships, and then in a clockwise fashion, you're going to drop off a ship in each area, and wherever you land, that's the area where you're going to take the action.
Yeah. So let's start by taking a look at those actions. So if you land in the move section, you're going to then have the ability to move one of your Corbita ships along one of the trade routes. And you're going to be, as you're moving these things, passing through different trading ports and different, what are they called? The
transit tiles. Yeah.
So the transit tiles are where you might gain some resources. The trading ports are where you can
for construction discs.
Potentially put construction discs and be able to use those later in a different part. And
you're landing on you're trying to get to the destination tiles, which might give you benefits or in-game scoring. And you might also pass through and collect up some of these little tokens, which I forgot what they're called, but they'll give you goodies and icons, which are really helpful.
Yeah.
And another action is shipbuilding. So on your sideboard, you have construction discs and ships. All right, so you're going to build from the bottom up, and you're going to have an alternating Corbita, Ponta. But if you're building a Corbita, you pay the cost in the wood to the left, and that goes somewhere in your sea area. All right, so just adds another ship out there. But if you're building the Ponta, you're actually going to be replacing a Corbita that you have in a sea area and placing that Corbita out at the beginning on the board. In order to do that, though, you cannot have any other ships in the coastal area. And there's a dotted line that kind of shows you the coastal area because you can only have one ship on each trade route. And then there's the order action where you can buy some of these cards and the cost is wheat. And with those cards, you will get some potential other resources. It'll give you icons at the bottom of the card, which will help with points at the end of the game. And you can also get those lovely little amphora tokens.
Now, if you land on the build section, what you're going to be able to do is potentially build on one of the trading ports. Now, your Corbita has to have gone up to or past one of those trading ports in order for you to be able to build on it. Now, when you do build on it, you get to take one of those buildings and put it into your city to upgrade something within your city, which is going to be very helpful to kind of for that little engine that you're building throughout.
And then you have the trade action where you can potentially get some honor cards, which are certain objectives that you meet during the game. It'll give you 12 points per card at the end of the game, and it costs 4 gold, so you can potentially get honor cards. And then you can also do some trading. So wherever you have kind of put out construction discs on these trading port tiles, you can use those. So for instance, this one right here, I can turn in gold to get stone up to 4 times. So you can kind of mix and match what you want to do with trading. And lastly is the administration step, where first you have the optional action step where you can choose one of 4 actions to do, just like normal. And then you do the administrative part where you grab all the ships in that sea area, drop them off like normal, and wherever you land, you perform that action as well. Now there are several game-ending conditions, a couple of which are if someone builds their last construction disc or if someone builds their last ship. Those are just a couple, there's some more. And then after the game is over, you tally up your points. You have points from the rewards track, like you mentioned at the beginning, with just the multiplier of where you landed. You can get 12 points per set of 4 icons. There's different icons like nobleman, noblewoman, that type of thing, some animals. Then potentially some points for port tiles out here. There might be some game end stuff there. The destination tiles, and lastly, the honor cards. So OSTIA offers several different mechanisms that different people might like. So one of them, well, the main one being that Mancala mechanism, where you're picking up and dropping things off. If you kind of have liked those mechanisms before, like this is heavily driven with the Mancala system. This would definitely be one to try out if you like that system.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you also, if you like tracks or things like that, where you're kind of trying to move things up on the tracks, obviously that's a big part of this as well. It helps with that multiplier so that you get more points at the end of the game. So you're trying to move up that track in order to do that.
And if you've liked the sense of like moving along routes, it's not necessarily a track per se, but like, moving along the routes to kind of get to some place and getting things on the way. This game definitely has that. I mean, you're just going along the trade routes.
Trying to get to a destination.
And you're going through different tiles, and there's variability with the setup, with how the tiles are laid out, and some aren't used. And so there's more tiles than what are actually used, so there's going to be variability.
And then there's also the ability to upgrade your city along the way. As you build things, you can then put your buildings onto your city and start to give yourself a little bit greater ability to do things maybe a little bit faster, kind of build that engine a little bit.
Yeah, so if you like, upgrading your own personal board, this also has that element as well.
Fortunately, too, for somebody like myself, this game is not too long. So it's certainly, for somebody that maybe doesn't want to sit for a really long game, this would definitely, I think, kind of fall into a category of, like, it's not too long.
About what an hour max?
Probably, 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, 45 minutes to an hour for 2 players. And I don't know, when we were playing, I felt like it was constantly my turn. Like, I felt like we were going pretty fast, and once you kind of learn the game, you just kind of go. I didn't feel like there was a lot of downtime unless you're going to really, really overthink how all the ships might land, which there are those people that will do that, but
they plan out like 5 turns in advance of how these ships are going to land in these places, so I can do this on the next turn and this.
I only think out like 1 or 2 ahead potentially.
I was thinking 2 or 3 and I wasn't like thinking real hard.
So this definitely felt like a good flow in the game for sure. If you like various ways to get points, there is that as well. I mean, you can get icons, the reward track, destination tiles, trading port tiles. There's many different ways to score points.
Yeah, anytime we played it, we were definitely kind of having fun with the amount of points that we got.
Yes, especially if you get high up in the multiplier.
Yeah,
you're doing 12 times something. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, there's also a lot of these cool different building types. They don't necessarily function differently, but there's a lot of cool different buildings, and that's part of the city upgrade. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, any of those mechanisms or the length, etc., this might be one to check out. So again, this will be on Kickstarter February 27th, and the driving force of this campaign is going to be the expansion OSTIA Pirates, but you can also get the base game. You can get both, and definitely go ahead and check that out on Kickstarter. And we appreciate you guys watching.
And thank you so much, Uchibakoya, for sponsoring this video.
Well, until the next video, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.